I'm going to start off by adding our peppers. I've got a combination of yellow and red. That does not mean it's an extra ingredient. They're just a variety of peppers. So I have my peppers in. I'm going in there with some red onions, which I've just quartered. And a good way to keep these intact is to keep the root in there because that'll make sure that it doesn't fall apart. And when you roast off red onions like this, you're going to get this gorgeous sweet caramelized flavor, which is absolutely spectacular in these very quick weeknight fajitas. So I'm just using some chicken breast fillets and I've cut them into nice chunky strips. To this, we're gonna get in there with a little bit of taco seasoning. Now, you can use any taco seasoning you like. This is pretty much standard. In any supermarket, you'll be able to pick up a packet of this. Or if you can't find this, something like a Creole seasoning will do the job. You're looking for a bit of spice, you're looking for a bit of a hum of heat, and something that's gonna transform these veggies and chicken into something a little bit more interesting after they come out of the oven. To this, we've got a little bit of oil, and you wanna go generous with the oil here because you do want the peppers to kind of get a little bit caramelized, the red onion to reduce down, but also for the chicken to brown up as well. So mix that through, and you want it all completely coated before it goes in the oven. So as you can see, it doesn't take too much work to make this look quite pretty at this point. And now to finish it off, a last little pinch of some sea salt and a little bit of black pepper. Now there's seasoning in there already, but sometimes I just feel like it adds a little bit of something extra. Right, this is good to go into the oven. It's set at 200 degrees Celsius, which is around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's gonna cook for about 30 minutes or so, just until the chicken is cooked all the way through. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You've got browned off chicken. It's nearly there. There's a little juices going on here, but this is the perfect time to get in there and toss this around, just so that any of those undersides that haven't got as much color or haven't caramelized up get a chance to evenly cook out. So just shuffle it around the pan. And this is all looking pretty good. It's evenly cooking. I'm actually going to turn the pan just so that we get a perfectly even cook. But as you can see, very little effort, and you have the core elements of your fajita night all set and ready to go. This goes back into the oven, and while it's in the oven, we're gonna heat up our tortillas. So, nice hot pan here. A little trick with these is just to oil them up a little before they go into the pan. You can use your fingers just to brush it over and then put that straight into the hot pan. So it's literally going to take about 2 minutes just to get a nice golden brown color on either side, and then we're going to keep them warm in a tea towel until our fajitas are ready to rock. These little griddle marks are what turn these flour tortillas into something a lot more interesting. You're gonna get smoky notes in there, and it just brings them alive. So these are now good to go. I have them nicely warmed, my nice stack. And the thing is, if you're doing this for a weeknight meal, you can have them warm to the table. All you're waiting for is our lovely veggies to come out of the oven and our chicken. And this is where they should be at. Really nice browned chicken, and then those beautiful little caramelized pieces of onions. You've got that sweetened pepper. This is your one sheet fajita mix ready to rock. Now at this point, I would recommend you take up those nice warmed tortillas, you fill them with lots of gorgeous peppers and some of those nice little crispy bits of chicken. Now, I know these are 5-ingredient recipes, but I can't help but have a little bit of hot sauce and some sour cream and a little squeeze of lime. You don't have to do this, and you can eat it just like this. It will be a delicious dinner, but if you want to go the extra mile, a little plop of sour cream over the top, a good squeeze of your hot sauce of choice, and I'm just going to take up a few little sprigs of coriander over the top. It just finishes it off. Absolutely beautiful. Really gorgeous warm ingredients, and the only place for this is in your gob. This is comfort food brought to the table in one pan. This is one you need to make. So we're going to start off by wrapping our chicken in some prosciutto. I have 2 chicken breasts here. They're kind of small on the small side, which is good because it's going to help with the cook time here. I'm going to grab up a little bit of prosciutto, and basically all you're going to do is it's a little bit of make and do, but you're going to wrap each chicken breast with a little bit of that salty prosciutto. Now that's going to do 2 things. Number 1, it's going to give you that salty flavor, but it's also going to give you the most gorgeous brown color on these chicken breasts as well, because sometimes chicken breasts I often think are a little bit sad. As you well know on this channel, if you watch for a long time, you'll know that I love chicken thighs. So whenever I do this, I do love adding prosciutto to the mix because it just makes things a little bit more interesting. So give the hands a quick wash, and we're going to get straight into the pan. Okay, our pan is coming up to a very nice hot temperature. I'm gonna get straight in there with a touch of oil. At this point, you're looking for the heat in the pan to brown off our chicken. So you do want it to be at a medium-high heat. And now that we have our beautifully wrapped prosciutto chicken, we can get it straight in the pan. Now, the great thing with all these 5-ingredient recipes is that they're all open to adaptation. So this is a perfect one. My mom used to always make this when we were growing up, where she would split the chicken and stuff it with breadcrumbs and a little bit of pesto, maybe some cheese. But this is all about simplifying our dinners and making life a little bit easier. So we're gonna go straight in there with this prosciutto wrapped chicken. Now, the prosciutto is quite salty, but we're gonna add a little touch of sea salt just to round out the flavor and to make sure it's nicely seasoned. A touch of black pepper in here as well. And now it's just a case of turning these over now that we've got a gorgeous brown color on them. And just look at that. This is why you wrap it in prosciutto. I mean, look at that gorgeous sizzling golden brown color. So now that we've turned them over, it is gonna cook out alongside this sauce with the gnocchi. But while they're frying off on the other side, I'm actually gonna pan fry these store-bought gnocchi straight in the pan. They're gonna get a little bit of texture, a little bit of browning going on, just to make them a little more interesting. So take your time with this, give it a little sizzle, and really at this point now, I'm gonna let it sit. We're gonna let it cook out. We're gonna let the gnocchi take on a little bit of color on the bottom side, and then we're gonna get in with our marinara sauce. Now, let's talk about the marinara sauce. You can get passata, which is basically just a blitzed tomato mixture, and you get that in nice jars. I would use that here, or you could go the extra mile and get the more sort of American-Italian vibe going on with this marinara sauce, which also comes in a jar. It's a little bit of a cheat ingredient, but basically what you get left with is a very quick cooking sauce. So as soon as the gnocchi has a bit of color, we're going straight in there with the marinara. Okay, that is all our marinara sauce in there, and to give it a little bit of help in the pan and just to make sure that it's nice and saucy, we're gonna add a splash of cold water. And then just give it all a little shuffle in the pan just to bring it together and make sure you've got a nice even bit of sauce, the chicken gets coated. And the beautiful thing about this is, at this point, the gnocchi is gonna cook out, the chicken's gonna continue cooking just until it's nice and tender in the inside, and I always love finishing chicken off in the pan like this with a little bit of liquid because it adds to a bit of steam and a bit of texture and a bit of moisture in the pan, which gives you lovely succulent chicken breasts. So this is now looking pretty good. It's had a minute or so just to bubble. It all happens pretty quickly, but we're gonna finish this off quite interestingly, and to give it a little bit more emphasis on making it look spectacular when it comes to the table, I do have a beautiful ball of mozzarella, which I'm just gonna tear into nice little strands and basically push that in and around the pan. And we're not gonna put this under the grill or anything like that. We're gonna stick a lid on top and let it go oozy and moist in that beautiful steam. So pop that in and around, and then lid on. Literally, it's gonna be less than 5 minutes and you'll have oozing cheese, perfectly cooked chicken, and gnocchi ready to go. It's literally had 2 minutes, and have a look at this, because this is where it's at. You have steam erupting from perfectly cooked chicken, tender gnocchi, creamy mozzarella, and this is a one-pan dish that you can serve straight to the table. All I'm gonna do is flick off the heat, grab up some basil, and you just wanna take those fresh little basil leaves. And I know it's a little bit of cheating going on here, but I do have basil in the kitchen. I know these are not part of our 5 ingredients, but I can't help but to add this beautiful aniseed green flavor going on in here. So a few sprinkles of basil leaves, and that, my friends, is a gorgeous dish that you can bring straight to the table. I would literally serve it straight to the table like that and allow people to dig in. Now, let's serve this up and get a taste of what's going on in here. Do come in and have a look, because we have all that glorious cheese. Look at that stringy mozzarella, and don't forget about that beautiful gnocchi, which is cooked out. It's got a little bit of pan frying action, a little bit of browning when it was cooking off alongside the chicken, but then it's completely cooked through once you've added the marinara sauce and a splash of water. And that, my friends, is a winner chicken dinner, because it's only 5 ingredients plus the basil, but it's all brought together in the one pan, and it's spectacular. I mean, it smells wonderful. I want to waft it towards you. I want you to smell it and taste it and try it and all the things. But I'm going to do the honors for you. I'm going to do the hard work. I'm going to tuck into this and see what we're dealing with, because it would be a shame not to. This one relies solely on the spice and the gorgeous flavor that you get from harissa paste. This is a really wonderful North African spice paste that is dark, heady. It's got a sort of subtle spice rather than an overpowering one. We're gonna use this to spice up our chicken, our tomatoes, and some potatoes. These are the core ingredients to this one sheet dinner. And I always love to use chicken thighs because not only are you getting great flavor, but you're also getting that crispy skin as well. We're gonna add to this our tomatoes and potatoes. I've just slice these potatoes in half. These are baby potatoes, and I would suggest you use these because obviously they're a little bit smaller than regular sized potatoes, but they work really well in amongst all our ingredients here. I'm not being too specific about putting these all in place yet because we're going to rub them with our harissa paste. So we've got some cherry tomatoes on the vine, and I'm not going to overcrowd the pan, but we are going to add about 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 tablespoons of this harissa paste. You want to go heavy with it because it is that gorgeous flavor, and we're not adding too much oil and salt and pepper here, so this is where the core flavor of this dish comes together. So get in there with your hands and give it a mix up just until it's nicely combined. The minute you start massaging those chicken thighs with the harissa paste, you're getting all this gorgeous color, and it's smelling so wonderful even before it's got into the oven. This is now going to roast off in the oven at about 200 degrees Celsius, that's 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And what you're looking for is the chicken skin to have crisped up, those tomatoes to have kind of essentially caramelized and become nice and sweet, but also for the potatoes to be nicely cooked through. We've got a nicely coated chicken situation going on in here. I'm just going to give the hands a quick wash, then we're going to get on some oil and some salt and pepper, and it goes in the oven. Okay, we are in business. A little drizzle of olive oil just going over the top here. And one thing I nearly forgot, which is a really great ingredient to add in here, is a little bit of thyme sprig. So I'm just going to break these in and over the top. They're going to add really lovely flavor as this roasts off in the oven. So just pop them over the top. A little bit of salt and pepper as well. Just sprinkle that over the top. And now the oven is going to do the rest of the magic. It's going to crisp up. It's going to take about 35 to 45 minutes. What you're looking for is crispy skin on the chicken, your tomatoes to have been reduced down, and your potatoes to be nice and tender. So let's get cooking. This is what I'm talking about. The oven has done all the hard work for us. You've got crispy chicken skin, you've got beautifully tender pieces of potato, and the real magic of this recipe is down to those beautiful, jammy little tomatoes, because they've been coated in that harissa, they've sweetened and caramelized in the oven, and they've created a sort of little sauce in the bottom of this. You could, if you wanted to, serve it up with some couscous or some bulgur wheat, or even alongside some salad, but for me, this is a dinner ready to go. It's got the potatoes, it's got the tomatoes, and you've got some gorgeous chicken. So let's get it up and let's get it served. Now, that little hit of thyme, I know it's an extra ingredient, but it really does make all the difference. Chicken and thyme, they're just wonderful flavor friends, as I like to call them. And even a little bit of lemon juice would work really quite nicely in here as well. So there's plenty of options if you do want to adapt this recipe. And that is a dish of food that looks absolutely spectacular. So now, let's dive in and try some. With all my 5 ingredient chicken recipes, there is always one key ingredient that brings the flavor, and in this case, it is this beautiful red pesto, which is full of sun-dried tomatoes, loads of garlic, lots of oil. So it's a bit of a cheat ingredient, and especially when you're doing 5 ingredient recipes, things like this are powerhouses of flavor, so it's really important to have them on hand. My other 5 ingredients are some chicken thighs, we've got some spinach, we've got some chickpeas, and a little bit of chicken stock. But this recipe starts off in a nice hot pan. We're going to get in there with our chicken thighs, but before we do, I just want to oil them up ever so slightly and put a little drop of oil in the pan. Season this up with a touch of salt and pepper. And the trick to this recipe is to get these chicken thighs really nice and crispy. So we're going to start off with them skin side down in this pan. And don't worry too much about having it screaming hot at this point, because what you're going to do is render out the fat from that chicken skin. And it does leave quite a lot of fat, but by doing that, you're going to get really crispy chicken skin, and that's the key to this gorgeous little simple recipe. Okay, chicken's in, it's coming up to temperature, hands need a wash. So, little last bit of salt and pepper. And then you're just kind of tending to the pan, just making sure that it gets nice and crispy. It will take a good 10 minutes or so, just until that chicken skin gets really nice and crispy and almost cooks the chicken about half or to 3/4 the way through. So this is the only moment in this recipe where you really want to leave the time for that chicken to get all that color and crisp up nicely. So it is important that you keep your eye on this as it's happening because you do want to make sure that it doesn't burn and you get that nice crispy skin, but this is pretty much where we want to be. And as you can see in the pan, there's a lot of fat that's been rendered out, so I'm actually going to drain that off and just make sure that we don't get all of that in amongst the other ingredients we're going to be adding to the pan. So it might seem like an extra step here, but by taking away all that chicken fat, it means that we've a nice fresh pan that we're going to add the other ingredients into. So let's turn these chicken thighs over, nicely colored on the bottom, just for a minute or so. Look at that crispy chicken skin. That is where all the flavor in this dish is. So really worthwhile taking the time just to render out that fat and get really nice crispy and golden chicken skin. The next thing we need to talk about is how we're going to bring this together as a one-pan dinner. 5 ingredients. We've got our red pesto going in here. I'm going to scoop this in alongside some chicken stock. Again, you've got gorgeous sun-dried tomato paste. You've got beautiful garlic in there, loads of great oils and lots of flavor. So this is really the flavor maker in this recipe. In amongst that, we're going in there with some chicken stock. So just pop that in around the pan. And immediately you can start seeing a sauce. Oh, I'm getting a nice chicken facial here going on here. As soon as you get in there, you're starting to get a sauce going on. So to that red pesto, you just want to shuffle it around the pan. So take your time with that just so that it's nice and evenly incorporated. Once it's in there, give it a little shuffle. We're going to add in some chickpeas. You could add in some white beans, some cannellini beans. I just like an ingredient like that you can pull from the store cupboard. It's in a can and you're going to add it straight to the pan just like this. We're going to give that a little shuffle and just make sure the chickpeas, the pesto, the chicken, it's all nice and evenly incorporated. So once you've shuffled that red pesto in amongst the chicken stock and the chicken, we're actually going to allow this to cook out ever so slightly just until the chicken is cooked all the way through. And right at the last minute, we're going to add in some baby spinach. So give it a minute or two. Right, this is ticking away, it's bubbling away. And as it's reducing down, you're getting a really gorgeous intensification of the chicken stock with the red pesto, and you're getting this really gorgeous, luxurious sauce that is basically 2 ingredients. So this is looking good right now. The chicken is almost cooked through. So right before it finishes cooking, I'm gonna get in there with some baby spinach. You're just gonna lay this in and around the pan, and it's gonna take literally about 2 minutes or so just to wilt down. So give it a moment, the steam will do its work, and you can just use a spoon just to kind of get in and start pushing it down into that sauce just to make sure that it cooks through. And as soon as it has, we are in business and we can serve up. Now, I've just tended to this as it's cooked out, incorporated the spinach, and as soon as it wilts, you don't want to go further than that because you don't want to overcook spinach. You want all that brilliant green in there. But at this point, we are now done. So I'm going to serve this up. You can bring this pan literally straight to the table. There's loads of flavor in there. You don't have to worry too much about anything else. I quite like serving it just as it is because it's a nice hearty meal and you don't have to worry about boiling up anything else. So literally just pile those chickpeas around, and I'm gonna season it up with a tiny bit more salt and pepper, and this is pretty much good to go and ready to be tucked into. Let's taste it.